Bienvenue à Ecosystème.
Merci, Emily. Welcome to Ecosysteme, a podcast by Madiness and London Partners that takes listeners behind the entente cordiale and special business relationship that exists between Paris and London. I'm David Johnson, Editor-in-Chief at Madiness UK.
And I'm Emily Pierre-Desmond, Director of Operations at Madiness France. Let's deep dive into the London and Paris ecosystems, meeting the founders, innovators, investors, and key stakeholders that are driving them.
So as we head towards the Paris Olympics, it's only right to say, à vos marques, get set.
Partez!
Oh, and yes, Emily is indeed in Paris.
Thank you, David, but that's where the clichés stop. Let's get down to business.
Episode 2 comes to you recorded live at VivaTech in Paris, where over 165,000 guests came together to see and show the very best of the French startup ecosystem.
Along with 16,500 startups, visitors also witnessed keynotes from the Williams sisters and Elon Musk.
And on the British Pavilion, we were there to record fireside chats with some of the French and British startups benefiting from the open and collaborative potential that exists between France and the UK.
In part 1 of this extended podcast, we hear from Harjas Singh, co-founder of Shares.io, and Romain Etay, co-founder of Clara, about setting up in London and Paris and what they offer as true capitals for international expansion in their markets.
And in the second part, we hear from Jessica Huey, Head of Marketing at Bloomflow, and Ahmed Mohamed, Head of Open Innovation at OpenReach, about the value of open innovation for the ecosystem.
Both sessions were moderated by Madiness journalist Valentin Pringuet, and as you will hear, the stand was packed and the buzz of VivaTech is clear from the background noise.
Allons-y with Harjas Singh and Romain Etay.
All right. I'm so glad to be here at VivaTech today from the British Pavilion to host this episode of Ecosysteme or Ecosysteme. I don't know how you want to pronounce it, depending on which side of the tunnel you're from. My name is Valentin Pringuet. I'm a journalist at Madiness, and we are so glad to be doing this podcast with London and Partners to talk with founders and stakeholders from both London and Paris to speak about the intricacies of the Franco-British ecosystem. You can already listen to the first episode with Laura Citron, CEO of London and Partners, and Clara Chapaz, Director of Mission French Tech. But today, I'm joined by two very different companies, both incorporated in the UK, but at a very different stages of maturity, with different backgrounds, and I'm sure that it will bring very interesting point of views for this conversation about the cultural differences between London and Paris. But first, we have Harjas Singh, co-founder and chief product officer at Shares, and Romain Etay, co-founder of Clara. But let's jump right in. Harjas, what is Shares and what are you doing differently from your competition?
Hi, first of all, I'll say thank you to VivaTech and for London Partners for having us. So Shares is Europe's first social investing platform. We are a social network that allows investors to get connected to one another so that they make better investing decisions and thus invest smarter. The differentiating factor that we have as compared to other providers or traditional investing brokers is that we have actually a social layer that backs the product. It allows less informed people to be connected with more informed investors in order to collectively become better investors.
All right, Romain, same question. What is Clara and what is your unique advantage?
Thank you for this invitation, and I'm super honored to speak in front of you all. So Clara is the first employee-facing solution for skills development, and we have as a mission to reconcile performance and skills and make it not for the HR or the training people, but for the employees themselves. So we offer a solution that can make people on the field, in the factory, in a plant, in a retail store, in everything you can have in a company, develop themselves and improve their ability to enjoy what they are doing on their job. So we are super excited to present what we do with Clara.
Awesome. And both Clara and shares have been made in France. When did you enter the British market, and why was it the right moment to do it for you?
Right, so shares entered the UK market in 2021. We were coming right out of COVID, and initially we started working remote. But one of the top reasons we entered the UK market was because of the friendly regulatory environment there at the time. So for launching an investment product in the UK, there is a special program, which is essentially the principal appointed representative scheme that allows you to actually launch a product under the umbrella of an existing authorized firm. That allowed us to build the product quickly and be able to launch and test it in the UK market very, very fast. And that also prepares you for your own FCA application, which usually takes a while. And this also allows you to operate as a regulated firm and build up your systems and controls during that time while you're governed with another principal firm. So that's kind of the top reason that we launched in the UK market.
And for you, Romain, when was it when you entered the British market, and why was it the right moment?
Well, as Harjas, we start the company in 2020, just before COVID, and our domestic market is France. And we, since the beginning, had the conviction that what we address as an issue is something international, European first, but also worldwide. And we decided to start by the UK to show that conviction is real. And when we raised money in 2023 with Anka Venture, we decided to tackle the first market that is quite similar from France. And we think that it's a very interesting challenge we address, because UK market is a competitive market, and we think that we can deliver the same and to compete also with a lot of American solutions, which is something very challenging for us.
And going to another market can be a big source of debate. Did you have a look at other countries to go in? What seduced you to go to London, I guess?
I think the London ecosystem is just so powerful, right? If you look at 2015 and onwards, there's just been incredible businesses built. You have Revolut, where actually I worked. You had Monzo, and you have this entire fintech ecosystem that was growing at such a strong pace. Also, I think the density of talent. London is home to some of the best technical talent in the world, and I think we've seen that it consistently draws more and more people from around the world to come and seek for business opportunities. So I think those were the two kind of main reasons we decided to pick London. Number one, the fabulous ecosystem, and number two is the density of quality talent.
Awesome. And for you, Romain, was London an easy choice, or was it a debate at Clara?
Well, when you choose a country to export, it's always a debate. It's not like straightforward. But the fact is that we choose UK for very strong criteria, that the easiness to deploy subsidiary, to be supported by partners that can help you to go faster, and also because we have some clients who can go with us to this market. That was a very strong part, the referral part, and also because, and I can only agree on what Harjas says. It's the ecosystem is genius. The talent ecosystem also is very great, and what we think also that the accessibility of the language. Obviously, all the company can speak English, and the other country that we had in our choice was Germany, and it's quite difficult, more difficult to address, I think, first of all, and we can go there in 2 hours. So yeah, it was a choice of also accessibility.
Okay, and Harjas, can you share any pivotal moments or experiences that have shaped your understanding of the business ecosystem in both cities, London and Paris?
Yeah, it's actually very interesting. So if you look at both the ecosystems, they're actually quite different in terms of the roles that you have within the tech industry at least. So what I mean by that is, if you look at like tech startups in Silicon Valley, a lot of times you have roles that are created there. So we can take an example such as in AI, you have a lot of new roles that came up, such as a prompt engineer. These are roles that transport to the UK very quickly. So within a month of, let's say, this role starting up in Silicon Valley, we see the job postings for similar roles in the UK. But I think it takes a while for those roles to be adapted into let's say, the French market. An example that I can give here is the role of a product marketing manager, which is quite a key role in the B2C industry. And this role has been quite widely publicized in the UK for many years. But actually, in the French market, I've only seen this role pop up a couple of years back. So I think there's this role parity that takes place after a while between the two countries. It's a business insight that I've learned myself operating in the tech space for the last few years.
All right, and you, Romain, do you have any pivotal moments to share with us?
Yeah, as you understand, it's quite more recent than Harjas, so I will figure out this question. But what I can say at this stage is that the ecosystem is more cooperating in the UK, and it's very interesting because everything is going faster. In my point of view, is going faster in the UK. They want to make partnerships around subtopics, and they want to bring value together. And that's something also that we try to experiment in France. And I think the velocity of all of it is different. And even with the corporate, because we are working with big companies, and they are really more agile to experiment new stuff, and that's something that could be bring in France, because corporate in France are a bit more longer. I'm sorry for them, and I appreciate them, but it's always a decision of 10, 20 people for an experimentation, and in the UK it's very straightforward. Like, okay, it brings values, let's try and let's see. That's very interesting for us.
Is it your experience as well, Harjas? The velocity of in London is a lot faster?
I think it depends. You can have examples of high velocity in both places, because I think for us, we've traditionally been like a very fast moving product, and we have a team based in the UK as well as Paris, and I would say both execute quite quickly, except obviously I think in the French office there's a 2-hour lunch sometimes, but apart from that I think but they also do work much later, I feel like, so I think there's a balance, but I don't think one is better than the other in this case. It just purely depends on industry, the leadership, the background of leadership, and how they create a fast-paced, execution-oriented culture.
All right, thank you. And what was the most difficult part for you to move to the UK ecosystem? Do you have any advice to navigate this for others that would like to follow in your footsteps?
Well, I can have some advice that we can have for any exportation of your software or product in a new country. So the first advice is to choose the best partners locally. So as we did with London and Partners, we choose people who can bring some ability to go faster and to know better and to avoid any troubles that you can make if you are going just on your own. And I think it's quite relations of confidence with your partners, and to make it work well, just because they know how it works, and maybe to trust them to make it going fast.
Okay, interesting. And for you, Harjas, the most difficult part going to the UK, what was it?
So I've been operating in the UK for the last 5 years. I would say actually, generally there was nothing too difficult for us, because the reason we launched in the UK was we poached a lot of early Revolut employees in the UK, and so we literally knew what we were doing, and that's why we were able to operate fast. Now, if we take like launching in a country where you don't have talent operating there already, I think the lead time to launch a business and a product is usually much higher. So I think in the UK the market was friendly. I had a very deep understanding of the market, operating there from my time at Revolut. So actually it was one of the most straightforward and easier pathways for us to launch and execute.
All right, so you have to go where you can poach the best people. Okay. And we've spoken about difficulties, but entrepreneurship is not only about difficulties, right? What have been the good surprises we encountered when going into the UK market?
We find tremendous people there, and our team in the UK, even if it's starting, they are incredible, and I really think that you have to find people that you can trust, because they will open a market you don't know. They will be on their own, and they will totally autonomously. So you have in 1% confidence with them. And one of our successes is that we created the first dream team in the UK. And it's my belief, and I hope it will be true in 2 or 3 years, obviously. But the first one is the team members, and our success at this point is about the team, I can say.
All right. And I don't know if I have to ask you the same question, because there's no surprises for you, right?
Yeah, like generally no surprises, but I think we learned a lot, because we grew very fast, and so we were hiring at a breakneck speed. So I think we initially had like we didn't really define a very early culture, because when you have a lot of throughput of people coming in, I think it takes like scaling a company at that level, I think, is one of the most difficult things in my experience. But yeah, overall I think the reg environment and operating in the UK was not very challenging.
All right. And this question is only for you, Romain. I think same for the previous one, but can you share with us what you would like to know, what you would have liked to know before going into London? How can you make this experience easier for others that are listening to us today?
Well, to make the experience easier, it's quite a challenge, because it's never easy. At least in my experience, opening a market, it's always a big challenge, because you have to prove yourself, you have to prove to the company, you have to prove that all this money invested is well invested, and it's always a challenge to prove it. And the return of investment is always in the long run. It's not like in 2 to 3 months. So something that I can share is that you have to be patient. You have to be patient on the results, and to be in the hurry of results could lead you to wrong choices, to lead you to do things that you maybe do not do in your domestic market. So the first thing is that to be patient, and also to pursue your mission, and not to look at something that you are not able to deliver, and etc. So to be on the same line of what you succeed in your domestic market, and to try to reproduce it, but make adjustment of the cultural aspect and all the stuff.
All right, and I guess there's also, and you've mentioned it before, finding the right partners to accompany you on this. And I would like to know, Harjas, how do you find partners to accompany you to accelerate your growth? What is the way you are choosing to create an ecosystem around you of partners and people who can help your company?
So it's just like about having the right talent initially. that has an established network in the ecosystem, and then eventually you work with people such as London and partners who are primarily grounded in that market. Because once you establish contacts with them, they're able to connect you to the exact people that you would like to be in touch with. For us, it was getting connected to the regulators, being able to have deeper discussions about the investment ecosystem within the UK. So I think it's about making those connections with players that are already deeply entrenched in a certain market like London and Paris.
All right, same question here. How do you find them? What have been the steps you've taken to find this ecosystem around you?
First of all, we have our super investors that help us to find the partners they have and they have experimented before. The second point is your own network. Obviously, your own network is always the best initial point because you have people you can trust in, and they can bring you people they trust in. And the friend of my friend is my friend, as I said. And then you have to spend a lot of time there and to deep dive in congress, in fair, in whatever event that you can meet people, because as we did in France, my role is to meet relevant people for our business, partners for selling, partners for marketing, partners for whatever you can have as a partner, but you have to meet people and to find value in beneficial value between what they can offer and what you need. And your network, I think, is the first point you have to deploy.
All right. And there's been a recurring theme in our conversation, which is cultural differences between Paris and London, and you've given lots of examples, the 2 hours lunch, so much things. But my question is, how do you perceive the cultural differences between Paris and London, and how do these differences influence business, operation, and strategies? So, going beyond the 2 hours lunches, how do you take in consideration these differences and for your business?
I think differences should be celebrated. So in London, I think the work culture closely resembles, I think, in a lot of cases, the American culture. I feel it's not quite the same, but I think a lot of innovations that happen in workplace culture transport over to the UK very quickly. Whereas I think, at least working in Paris, they've maintained sort of like a work environment that doesn't change like very quickly, in my opinion. So I think the biggest difference would be that in the UK, it's more likely to be similar to the US style of working. Whereas in Paris, I would say that it's a very Parisian style where, I think the environment is a bit more conservative in the way they work. So.
And for you, Romain, perceive the cultural differences?
Yeah, like just in Clara, we have a lot of different people before starting the UK. So difference between people are, I think, a strength that we believe very strongly. And if I have some perception of differences, is that I really love the positive mindset of my UK team. They are super positive, and maybe it's only a launching time, but I really like the way they see the business, how to do business, and very impressive. But we discuss a lot of the weather there. So weather is a very important topic there. So if you want to export there, you have to know that weather is very important.
Do you agree to what Romain just said about the positivity and so on?
Yeah, I think we should exchange. I think you should move to London and I can move to Paris. Yeah. I think maybe I'm complaining a little bit more like a Parisian these days. But no, I think it just depends, right? I think it's a factor of economics. I think a place where the business is doing well, naturally you find people way more positive and wanting to go and get the targets. Whereas if you find a geography where your business isn't that well and the economics is suffering, you'll find a few different people. So I think it just really depends on how the business is doing in the geography where you're operating.
Awesome. And there's something I liked in what you've said before about the fact that we have to celebrate the ecosystem. It's not Paris versus London and so on. It's really how do you find the goods in the two. But what piece of London would you like to implement in Paris business ecosystem, and vice versa? Is there something that you said if only this thing would be in Paris or in London, it would be easier to navigate?
Yeah, I think two things. Maybe Jesse's Spotify playlist and Brewdog beer. I'm just kidding. I think generally I feel there's it's a more flat hierarchy in London, where I think like in Paris you find companies and startups that are still very traditional hierarchy. But I think in the UK you find a more flat structure that I think it works better, in my personal opinion. I think that could be transported over to the work culture here. That would be amazing.
And you? Any piece you want to bring to London or bring back to Paris?
Yeah, and again, I think the positive mindset in entrepreneurship in the UK is very important, and I don't think that in France we are not negative. We are negative. It's not my point, but what I saw there is that they hardly believe on what they do, and even if they have to appear bigger than they are, and that's something that we can maybe be inspired. It's like an American way of saying things that everything is great and everything is going well until the moment of everything is down. But I think that the positive mindset we have to have in entrepreneurship is something that maybe could be inspiring for us.
And to finish this conversation, I want to speak about the future. What are you most excited about the future? What is the next step that you can't wait to explore for your business?
For us, we want to win the French market. I think it's our top priority right now. We launched here 4 or 5 months ago, and our priority is to go really deep in this market, so we can actually build products for an average French customer to be able to create wealth. So I think that's our number one target, and after that we'll be looking at other European jurisdictions where we can do the same thing and become the top investment product in the Europe and the rest of the world.
Awesome. I wish you all this. And on your side, what you're most excited about the future?
Well, in the other side of Harjas, we want to penetrate the UK market and to be the reference on the industry, but in general. And what we expect to do is to show that digital can be bring to blue collar, like people who are not expected to use a digital tool, a digital stuff on the for instance for a factory. So what we want to prove is that the industry 4.0 it's something like broader than only machine or processes. It's also something about human resources, and an employee has to be in the center of this revolution that we live in all the Europe, but at least in the UK for us.
Thank you so much for your time. It was an episode for Ecosysteme, our podcast with London partners, talk about founders and stakeholders from both London and Paris to speak about the intricacies of the Franco business ecosystem. Tomorrow, same place, same time, nearly same time. It's at 10 in the morning. We will have a conversation with Ahmed Mohamed, Head of Open Innovation at OpenReach, and Jessica Yui, Head of Marketing at Blueflow. So let's come back tomorrow and we can have another amazing discussion about London and Paris ecosystem. Thank you so much. Thank you, Anna.
That was Harjas Singh, co-founder of Shares.io, and Romain Etay, co-founder of Clara. And now, a word from our sponsors.
Hi, welcome to Business Without Bullshit. Should I, do you want more than that? Should I say my name? Hello, and welcome to Business Without Bullshit. It's a podcast. Do I really need to say it's a podcast? Hello, welcome to Business Without Bullshit. We're a podcast. Are you a podcast? Right, let's start again. Let's do this properly this time. Hello, welcome to Business Without Bullshit with me, Andy Ori. In every episode, we talk to some of the most interesting people in business about business. With my co-host, Pippa Sturt, we get to know what makes a great business mind. And we try very hard to work out when something is business and when something is bullshit. Listen to Business Without Bullshit wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Let's head back to VivaTech to hear from Jessica Huey, Head of Marketing at Bloomflow, and Ahmed Mohamed, Head of Open Innovation at OpenReach, all about open innovation.
Good morning. Hello, everyone. And we're back at VivaTech today from the British Pavilion to host this episode of Ecosysteme, our podcast with London and partners. To talk with founders and stakeholders from both London and Paris to speak about the intricacies of the Franco-British ecosystem, or Ecosystème, depending on how you pronounce it. My name is Valentin Pringuet. I'm a journalist at Madines, and I'm thrilled to have this conversation with Ahmed Mohamed, Head of Open Innovation at OpenReach, and Jessica Huey, Head of Marketing at Bloomflow. Together we will speak about open innovation and what is the secret sauce to make it work. But first, let's learn a little bit more about our speakers. Let's start with you, Jessica. What is Bloomflow and how is it giving you a unique perspective on open innovation?
Hi everyone, thank you for the opportunity to be here today. My name is Jessica, as you mentioned, Head of Marketing. Bloomflow is an innovation management platform. We work with more than 60 enterprise companies. We're working with Unilever, who's here today, HSBC, and Stellantis, to name a few. We provide a platform that covers the end-to-end innovation journey, everything from ideation, startup discovery, partner qualification, experimenting with pilots, and then scaling those successful pilots to different business units and departments. Thank you for the opportunity.
Awesome. Same question with you, Ahmed. What is OpenReach and how would you define open innovation and what is its role in your day-to-day job?
Morning everyone, Ahmed Mohamed, Head of Open Innovation. OpenReach. OpenReach is the network builder in the UK. They build and they maintain the network. They maintain the copper lines, they maintain the fibre lines, and we have something called an open access network. So we provide the network for other network operators to build. So essentially we provide internet data services and other telecom services to the UK. What does open innovation mean? I live it every day in my job. It's about ideas, and we'll be talking more about that as well. But it's more about the sort of the transfer of those ideas and how you, from an internal perspective, get the best out of your people, those ideas, and also how you interface with the different ends of the ecosystem to exploit those ideas. That's what it means.
Okay, and can you give us an example of what an open innovation project looks like for you?
So currently we're concentrating quite a bit on IoT, Internet of Things. OpenReach they're an organisation of about 37,500 people. We have one of the largest fleets in Europe. We have engineers which go into people's homes and maintain the network and build it. We need vehicles, we need equipment. So we need to be able to track our equipment. We need to be able to understand when they're coming to end of life and how useful they are. So one project is we are using sensors, for want of a better word, in our vehicles to understand how they operate, our machinery, when they need to be maintained. A project we're currently working on is a networking project and how to use sustainable energy to power a network, so solar and wind. And that's quite an interesting one because we have made a commitment for our vehicles to go all electric. So we're trying to push that agenda, and we've also started working recently in the UK with the company BT Group. We're part of BT Group to provide street furniture for charging vehicles as well. So there's quite a few projects going on at the moment.
All right, and you, Jessica, can you give us more details on how it works precisely? You mentioned you're working with Unilever. What is the process with a company like that?
In terms of open innovation, for us, it's fundamentally about the fact that open innovation can stem from within the organization, whether those ideas are about new products, new services, business models, or innovation itself. They can stem from within the organization, which you mentioned about leveraging your employees, and outside of the organization as well. We see this all over Viva Tech this week. There are thousands of startups that are here today working hand in hand with large corporations. So at Bloomflow, what we believe the fundamental question is more so on how can these large organizations organize themselves to make the most of what's available to them? How can they identify who their key innovators are within the organization? And how can they leverage relevant startups so they can go on and go create value with them? Thank you.
All right, and you, Ahmed, I guess OpenReach is a very processed environment. How do you bring the startups into it? I guess it can be easy to make it work on a day-to-day on a project like this.
Yeah, there's a few ways of doing this. Sometimes ideas are generated inside to find solutions to challenges. So, like any big company, you have a board, you have managing directors, they always have challenges, and they come to my group and they say, here's the problem, I want you to find a solution. We do that in a few ways. We look internally, obviously, we look at our people and we ask them for the ideas. But to bring startups in, essentially we have a network. We use people like London and Partners. We use other scouting companies. We have our own network as well across the world. And we put challenges out there. We work with, I think we'll come on to that a bit later as well, we work with the UK government, some of the Innovate UK companies, and we put challenges out. And people respond to those challenges, and then we have a process to go through evaluating those ideas.
All right. And we are here to speak about the relationship inside the Franco-British business ecosystem. What is the role of open innovation in this landscape? Do you see it taking more importance recently?
All right, thank you. So what I can say is that the majority of our clients are working cross borders. They are either scouting for startups in other countries, or they're managing innovation projects transnationally. One thing that they all have in common is that they have a global perspective, and this is key. They understand that the wider net they cast, the more opportunities and the more great ideas are available to them.
Awesome. And you, on your side?
Well, notwithstanding recent events from the UK in terms of disengaging from some of our partners, I think ideas cross borders. That's the key thing here. So for me, it's just about finding really good ideas, and it doesn't minimise. I haven't accelerated any additional scouting. We're always looking, but definitely we look at the culture of the startup as well. That's one of the key things. There's obviously a difference in culture between the two countries, but it's the culture of the startup I look at when I'm evaluating an idea.
And can you tell us more about this culture thing? How do you know if it's a right fit?
Yeah, so really it's about, when you look at the startup, and some of them, they're very keen in terms of to work with corporates, but what you have to understand is there's a culture to a corporate. And one of the key words that I always say is you have to have a lot of patience. So if the startup has patience, you're usually onto a good thing. If the first question is, so how soon can we exit? Right, that sort of curtails some of the conversation. It's more about building that relationship. So if they have that culture of patience, and understandably, some of the startups are very young people. We get some great ideas, but they show a level of maturity when I see some patience, and that's key for me.
Okay. Do you want to react to this?
Sure, just to add to that too, I think that's great advice about the startup should be patient. They all should clearly understand what their unique value is in the market to be able to communicate that to the large corporates.
Yeah, definitely good advice. And from your experience, what are some successful examples of open innovation initiative between Paris and London-based companies? Do you have some ideas in mind?
Well, I can talk to, in general terms, a lot of the work I do in my part of the business is to do with safety and security. So there's certain things I can't discuss. However, there was a company, not very Paris-centric, but it was a French-based company spun out of Airbus. So there was a company called Winlock, who we worked with extensively. We deployed their trackers. They provide a tracking technology. So they provided their trackers to manage our assets in a warehousing environment. It was quite unique because the technology they used at the time, it was more about efficiency, battery efficiency. So one of the things with tracking technologies, when you're building a business case, and this is something to pass on to startups, you always have to look at the core value and how you essentially change the batteries in the trackers. It's anything which you don't have to revisit is a good business case. And this company in particular had a very efficient algorithm for their trackers. So that was a recent success story. Going a bit further back, there was a company we worked with called Zulu. This is within BT Group, and they provided digital lifestyle training for young people, so children essentially, and it showed them how to use their digital habits online. And that was another company, a French company we worked with.
All right, thank you. And Jessica, do you have an example you can share with us?
Sure. Well, what I can say, because we're an enabler, correct? Yeah. Correct. So what I can say is that we are working with many UK corporations like Unilever, HSBC, Jaguar, and Standard Chartered. All of them are running successful projects on our platform. We're able to help them structure their data and extract value throughout the innovation process. And more broadly, we're helping them drive transformation across their organization.
Okay. All right. And can we discuss the challenges that companies may face when implementing open innovation strategy across borders? How can these challenges be addressed in your point of view?
I guess, the instance of repeating myself, it's really about patience and making the understanding. So when you have the startup and you have the corporate, we have the same challenge. We want to get the solution out into the market really quickly. But we have processes. It's a big machine. You heard the term, it takes a long time to turn a tanker around, and that's essentially the corporate. What we try to do with the startups is sort of give them that tugboat mentality where we can push us. So it's really telling, and to your point, Jessica, it's about having the startup understand what their true value is. So really stick to your key principles, stick to your core values, but be flexible. Be flexible with the corporation because it moves very slowly. I mean, my job is to, one of the phrases, is going to grease the wheels. That's one of the key things here. But really, they have to understand each other. So it's about meeting in the middle. It's this partnership. Sometimes the startup will have to sort of bend more towards what we're doing, but more essentially what I'm trying to do is embed that culture of innovation in the business. No matter we've been doing it for a very long time, it's still a struggle. So the key thing is understand your core value, your USP, but be flexible. And again, be patient.
Okay, we have to be patient. We got this. Do you have anything to add on this topic of challenges across borders and how to address them? If not, that's okay. That's okay. Can we speak about the role of government policies and initiatives play in fostering open innovation within the Franco-British ecosystem? Do you want to take?
Sure. Happy to answer this question. So incentives are key for corporate innovation. On the government side, we're doing a lot of fruitful work with London Partners and the British Embassy. And all of this is driven by the fact that London administrative leaders and UK political leaders have set this ambition, this objective to build a thriving innovation ecosystem in London and across the country. And so for us, sometimes what we're seeing is that it's as simple as setting the ambition and then letting companies like Bloomflow and some of our clients come in and follow suit. We are working with many French governments, so government departments, so we're seeing this on the French side as well. We work with SGPI. They are the governmental body that is responsible for managing and overseeing France's investment policies and strategy. So it's really exciting for us because they are in charge of the France 2030 project, which has 3 core areas of focus. It's emerging technology, digital transformation, and sustainability. This is all ran out of Gabriel Attal's office. So it's exciting for us to be able to work with them and structure their data, help them extract value, like I mentioned, from their innovation processes, and then drive change throughout the organization, but with purpose.
And you, Ahmed, I'm sure you have something to contribute in these government policies.
Yeah, sure. Well, with the recent readmission of the UK into the Horizon project in January, I see great things. We sort of stepped back a little bit over the past few years, but with the access to the funding now, I can see a clear run. And we do similar things. So we work with Innovate UK, which is a government agency in the UK, and they have, so a lot of our pipeline comes through them as well. So when we put challenges out, we go to them. But in terms of specifically what it means, if we look at, you've got the 3 large innovation hubs, you've got the UK, you've got Germany and France, and I think I think it's pretty good, it's UK or it's across the 3 of them. I think startups exited about 82 billion, or they raised about 82 billion over that period. So it's a really healthy ecosystem. And I think just by readmission for the UK into the Horizon project, that's only going to boost them.
All right, and I'm sure you've also seen some emerging trends or technologies that are shaping the future of open innovation in this Franco-British ecosystems. What are some examples you can give me?
Sure. So in terms of projects, I won't be able to share too much exactly, but at high-level trends, I can share some that come to mind are sustainability. Of course, there's the rise of sustainability. What we're seeing is that sustainability initiatives are tied to innovation initiatives. So that's one. Another would be that innovation is becoming more decentralized. So it's innovation in itself is being embedded into the different business units and departments. And then finally, AI. As you can see here at VivaTech, AI is everywhere. We've had an increase in demand from corporates, and they're saying that there's hundreds of AI use cases, sometimes thousands, and what they want to do is they want to extract the ones that are bringing value and to be able to scale those to other departments. So those are some of the high-level trends.
All right, I'm so surprised to hear about AI and sustainability. It's, wow, mind-blowing. And you have it too.
I'll leave AI till the end.
No, don't talk about AI.
So I think for us, sustainability is one of the key pieces. You can say it's a trend, but it's a sort of a burning trend that's been going through the business. So we're looking at I spoke about it before, specific projects. We're looking at radio technologies where we can provide connectivity across ultra-rural areas where we can't lay fibre. So we're deploying radios. However, when you move into those areas, where do you get the power from? So we're using solar and wind. We're generating our own power, which is powering the radios, which is providing the connectivity. So that's one area. Another area is robotics for us. It's not an emerging trend, but robotics is becoming more accessible. It's becoming cheaper, especially 3D printing has revolutionized a lot of our prototyping robotics. We're using robotics again for connectivity. This is where we're trying to get lines across existing lines. So instead of sending engineers up to climb poles, we can put a new robot there. And we can take a line across. That's one way of doing things. I will speak about AI again. I look after drones within the business, so we have one of the largest fleets in the group, and we are using drones to deploy networks. So we're actually taking tethers up of lines, and we're going across valleys, we're going across rivers, and we are dropping lines at the other end. This has a safety impact and aspect. It means our engineers are safe. They're not going near water, and also we can build the network quicker, so we don't have to have road closure areas. So robotics and drones and on AI, machine learning. Let's call it machine learning as well. So we have incidences where we need to go, and again, we're talking in rural Scotland or rural Wales, where we have to actually go out and survey the areas before we build them. Now, an engineer may go out and survey the area, and he'll come back and he'll look at the plan and say, well, I'm actually sure the plan doesn't match what I saw. So we're providing 360 cameras to the engineers when they go out. They can then upload the footage. We can use machine learning to detect poles, manhole covers, other infrastructure, and we can match them with the plans to ensure that if there are discrepancies, they can be corrected, or we can confirm things for all different purposes. So these are the key things we're working on.
Super interesting, thank you. And we are going to another important question, which is how do you measure the success of Open Innovation Initiative, and what are the metrics that you use to evaluate the impact?
Sure. This one is tricky because it depends. It really depends on what your objectives are, what your key goals are. So it varies client to client. McKinsey came out with a report that by 2026, that 50% of new revenue will come from new products and services. And so for us, it's identifying what the key value metrics are and how can we help them measure that in a smart way. What we provide is dashboards to enable them to visualize this and make sense of it. Other things that we encourage the corporations to measure is the time to delivery, as well as the risk assessment level.
Okay, all right. And on your side, is it the same, or how do you see it on your own?
Well, coming from a corporate, I have very hard targets. So we have very strict processes. So within my group, I have something called M gates, which are milestone gates. So when we evaluate a startup, we have a look to see whether they are a good fit. They pass a certain milestone. We then go out to trial. Once we have trial, and we try to do that very quickly, so we try to fail fast. Once they have passed the trial, they pass another milestone. So along the way, so I will make some of those decisions, my team will make some of those decisions, and then when it gets to the sharp end where we actually have to ask for funding to move forward, this is where we then engage with the managing directors, get the sponsorship. We do live demos for the executive teams. We get the buy-in from the very important finance people, and then we move forward to a full-blown trial with customers. We evaluate the success of that, very structured. We evaluate the success of those trials, and then we come back and we look at the hard numbers of business cases. So there's two things there. There's a quantitative aspect, how much are we investing, and what's the return on investment? Is there any intellectual property we can exploit from the technology? Is there a potential for closer collaboration with the startup, some sort of revenue share? Well, these are all the sort of very hard metrics that the bean counters will look at. And the other one is the softer metric around safety. Is the innovation we're deploying, will it make it safer for our engineers? And it's an easy one and also a tricky one. If there's a clear, I'll give you an example, the drones, we've had those in the business for a while, very low startup cost, very high impact, but in safety, amazing. It just absolutely ensures, and that was the chief exec had a look and he went, yeah, that's fine. This is just a decision. Yeah, we'll do it. No committee, no boards, no papers, no presentations. So when it comes to safety, the company it's easier sometimes.
Okay, amazing insights. Thank you. And looking ahead, what do you envision for the future of open innovation in the Franco-British business ecosystem? What opportunities do you see for further collaboration and growth?
Sure. I think the future is bright. There are a lot of opportunities. In terms of what to expect, I think that there'll be more and more collaborations between startups and corporations. They will go on to solve some of our global challenges that we face. And what we hope is that these actors will leverage our platform and able to drive meaningful change and positively impact our society.
Awesome. And on your side, Ahmed?
Well, I think the application technology has essentially changed because there are a lot more app-based innovations coming through, and they're very easy to cross borders when you have something. So I think the corporates are smarter. The corporates are competing for the startups as well. Everyone has their own open innovation, central innovation, direct innovation plans. So the future is bright. I think the other thing to mention, would be remiss not to mention, is money is tight. That's the key thing. So the days of sort of B, C series funding, huge exits are something we have to temper. But yeah, I mean, there are enough ideas. I mean, just look around here. There are all the great ideas there. I'm sure after this I'll go out and hopefully find some more. So I think it is it's a healthy environment.
Awesome. And what advice would you give to a startup and businesses looking at open innovation in London and Paris? What would be your first advice that comes to mind?
Well, I think we peppered those throughout the conversation about knowing what your unique value is. Being patient is key when you're working with large corporations that have processes in place. So what we tell our clients that are just getting started is to start, to iterate, to experiment, and then to evolve over time. It's important to remember that innovation, yes, it's about impact, but it's also just about progress.
Just as you said, we've mentioned a few things. I think one key thing I will say is honesty. I always tell them to be honest. Just because we're a large corporate, the answer isn't always yes. Sometimes you can't give something that week or the week after, and you won't be able to deliver. Just be honest, have that honest conversation and say, we might not be able to do this, but we can potentially do this. So it's about having that relationship, and also the networking. I know it just sounds easy, but you really have to go out there and just really pound the streets. Make sure, I would say, make sure you enter yourself in for every single competition going. Go for every award, and just make yourself known and make your brand known.
It was Ahmed Mohamed, Head of Open Innovation at Openreach, and Jessica Ewing, Head of Marketing at Bloomflow, for this episode of Ecosystem, a podcast made with London and Partners. And I'm thrilled to have had this conversation with you. Thank you so much, guys. Thanks.
We would like to thank our speakers, Harjas and Romain, Jessica and Ahmed, for sharing their insights, and thank you to Valentin Pringuet for moderating the two fireside discussions.
And a special thank you to the staff on the British Pavilion for their organisation and hosting.
Thank you for listening to Ecosysteme.
Be sure to check out the episode description for details and links to what's been discussed in this episode.
And hit subscribe to get the next episode straight to wherever you listen to your podcasts.
This podcast was recorded in London and Paris by Madiness for London and Partners, and the hosts were myself, David Johnson, and Emily Pierre Desmond.